My name's Dan. I'm a bereaved father of a 9-year-old girl who died in 4th January 2023, and I'm here to talk about palliative care and end-of-life care, and I'm at Julia's House Hospice in Corfmullen. And part of the reason why I've picked this place is because towards the end of Elisa's life, we spent 2 weeks here as a family being supported. And it was also a place where we had memories of Elisa as a child, where she'd come and do activity days. Elisa was born, she was born prematurely. She was diagnosed with cerebral palsy when she was just over a year and a half. Her type of cerebral palsy was the far end of the scale. So she was completely non-mobile, she was deaf, she was registered blind. She sort of never gave up, and we never gave up. And we were able to have quite a good 9 years with her, where she was relatively stable most of the time. So every hospital admission, it's always like, is this the time? And I think one of the horrible experiences that you have to go through is when your child goes into the operating theatre and the anaesthetist says, do you want to give him a kiss goodbye? And for me, and I guess for parents of complex children, there's that sudden thought that this could be goodbye, not like I'll see you later sort of thing, you know. And that used to upset me more than coming here, because here I got a couple of weeks to be with her, whereas I would have no sort of input into that. She would have gone into theatre and then somebody would have come and told me later that, sorry, she passed away during surgery, and I'd have to deal with that moment there and then. Whereas being here, we got 2 weeks to grieve and get used to the idea that she was no longer going to be with us. And I think that's, as a parent, is something that's quite valuable, because you get to create those memories and you get to realise that everything's incredibly sad and it's heartbreaking, and it is, because you're going to lose a child. But you get to be there every step of the way with them, and it's not something that's completely abstract to you. You hold their hand every step of the way, you have conversations with doctors every step of the way, and you're with them right up to the very last breath. And I think as a parent, it's kind of lucky to have that, because you get to know that you were there every moment of your child's life. The thing that mattered to us most was we were able to be a family. When Elisa was in hospital, it was usually just me and her in hospital because of COVID, because of having a younger sibling as well. It was always quite difficult to juggle, especially if we were in Southampton. So being here, being in a hospice, it meant that we could be a family, and that was the most important thing. Being supported as well by the staff here meant that all of the detail of our life that wasn't centred around Elisa's care was removed from us. They arranged visiting times for friends and family. They arranged to feed us. They arranged everything that we needed that we could just push aside, so we can concentrate on Elisa, making decisions about her care, being a family, spending time with Elisa's siblings, spending time together as a couple as well, being able to talk and actually be in a relaxed environment to make quite big decisions as well. There was no pressure. So those were the more important things for us as a family. So for us, the things that mattered about Elisa's care was that she was at the centre of everyone's conversations. We were talking about transfers between different locations, the medication she was on, how she was looked after while she was sedated. So the most important thing was everything was Elisa focused. Some of the conversations we had with the paediatricians were with Elisa. Even though she wasn't there, she was heavily sedated, we made sure that everybody was looking at her when they were making decisions. The most important thing for us is we wanted her to be comfortable, we wanted her to be free of any pain at all, and we wanted to make sure that we kept her as stable in that condition. And we also wanted to make sure that everybody sort of treated her as if she was still a 9-year-old girl. And that was quite important as well. And the staff here are always excellent at doing that, because most of them have known her since she was 3 or 4. So for them, it was just an extension of how they would care for her at home. So one of the biggest improvements would be around education, what palliative care is. People assume palliative care is end-of-life care, and it is and it isn't. Palliative care is about promoting comfort, whether it's physical, mental or spiritual. A lot of families like us, when they first mentioned that Elisa would need palliative care, we were like, no, she doesn't. She's not dying, she's fine. We were lucky in the sense that our community nurse has a history of working in child palliative care. And she was able to talk to us and explain what the difference is and why that early intervention was important. And it enabled Elisa to be more comfortable, and it probably extended her life by about 18 months because of their intervention, but also it was a comfortable 18 months rather than a very uncomfortable 6 months. But for us, obviously, as a family, you want your child to be comfortable, and that's hugely important. So I think changing people's assumptions that palliative care is end-of-life care would be one way it can be improved. And I think also when it comes to professionals as well, it's almost like one of those topics that they don't want to talk about because nobody wants to talk about dying children. And professionally, if you're not a palliative care specialist or a child palliative care specialist, it's not something you really want to think about. And I think that kind of leaves this gap that there are families that might go through an experience where they're told the child is dying and there's nobody around them that even has an understanding of what the process is, what happens, who becomes involved with the family, what support do they get. And I think that would be something that would need to change. As I said, for us, we had a palliative care consultant for 2 years before Elisa died. We had many difficult conversations with him. We were prepared, we were forewarned, we knew what was going to happen and how it was going to happen, and we were ready to have those conversations because we started those conversations earlier. We had the luxury of we were able to take our time with making decisions. We didn't have to suddenly make a decision. We were able to take a couple of moments just to work on what next steps would be, and that helped us because we were involved with the process. We had conversations. It wasn't a case of the doctor would say, we need to do this, this and this. We had conversations along the lines of, this is what's happening, this is what we think is going to happen, these are things we'd like to do, and we want you to let us know what you think would be right for Elisa. And that helped us with our grief, it helped us with our guilt, and a lot of other complex emotions. We never felt guilty about Elisa dying. We never felt we let her down or we didn't do things that we should have done because we were able to go through that process. We were able to grieve to a degree while she was still alive because we knew what was happening. We were forewarned, so we were able to cry and we were able to talk about things. So those are quite important things as well, I think, for us, and I imagine for lots of families with similar experiences. There's this assumption with hospices that they're either places where terminally ill children go, they're places where old people go to die, and quite often the case they're not. They provide a lot of respite and a lot of short breaks for families of disabled children, but they're also generally quite happy places. They're places where children come together with their peers and they get to have fun and enjoy themselves. And end-of-life care is only a small part of what a hospice can do to a family. It allows families to meet each other, which is great for a number of different reasons. Mainly, the key one is you kind of make friends with people who understand what you're going through or what you've been through or what you're about to go through. And you get to talk about normal things. A lot of families, disabled children, we feel like we have to explain everything to people who don't know what our life is like. Every time Elisa went into hospital, we felt that we'd have to explain what was happening and why it was happening and why she was in hospital. But a family with a complex needs child, you don't have to have that conversation because they know that your child is in hospital because of whatever. You have normal conversations, you talk about normal things, you get to enjoy a little bit of normalcy in your life without over explaining everything. And a lot of that comes from hospices and meeting other families in hospices. Most of our friends that we've known for 6 or 7 years, are parents of other children we've met through this hospice.